They break in minutes. The Protestant line collapses almost immediately. No reserves, no second chance. Imperial cavalry cuts through the left flank before orders can be shouted. Men drop weapons and run downhill into Prague's fields, boots sinking in frozen mud. Officers scream to hold formation, but formations no longer exist. This was supposed to defend Bohemia. Instead, it lasts less than 2 hours. Catholic League infantry advance without resistance, pikes leveled, drums steady. Artillery fires once, maybe twice, before crews abandon their guns. By mid-morning, it's over. The rebellion that challenged the Holy Roman Emperor ends here, on a low hill outside Prague, without a final stand, without a heroic death. What follows is not a battle. It's a political execution carried out with muskets. The Battle of White Mountain did not begin with cannon fire. It began years earlier, inside council chambers, religious assemblies, and legal disputes that turned theological disagreement into armed rebellion. By the early 17th century, the Kingdom of Bohemia occupied a dangerous position inside the Holy Roman Empire. Its population was majority Protestant, its nobility fiercely protective of local rights, and its king, Ferdinand of Styria, a committed Catholic educated by the Jesuits and determined to restore religious uniformity. The conflict was structural, not emotional. It was about authority, confession, and who controlled law inside imperial territories. In 1618, the Bohemian estates revolted. Imperial governors were thrown from a window in Prague Castle in what later became known as the Defenestration of Prague. They survived, but the message was unmistakable. Bohemia rejected Ferdinand's authority. Within months, the estates deposed him and elected Frederick V of the Palatinate, a Calvinist prince, as their king. This was an act of defiance against the imperial constitution. Frederick's acceptance turned a local rebellion into a continental problem. The rebels expected broad Protestant support. It did not arrive. Lutheran princes hesitated. Foreign powers delayed. Spain and the Catholic League moved faster. By 1620, the imperial army under Charles Bonaventure de Longueval, Count of Buquoy, combined forces with the Catholic League army commanded by Johann Sir Claes, Count of Tilly. Their objective was direct: crush the Bohemian rebellion before winter. Frederick V remained in Prague, inexperienced, politically isolated, and militarily dependent on mercenary forces. His army, assembled hurriedly, consisted of Bohemian levies, German mercenaries, and allied contingents with uneven training, inconsistent pay, and fragile morale. On the morning of 8 November 1620, both armies met west of Prague, near a low plateau called the White Mountain. It was not a mountain in any meaningful sense, just a gently rising ridge overlooking fields, vineyards, and villages. Terrain offered minimal defensive advantage. The Bohemian army deployed hastily. Their line stretched thin, anchored by terrain they did not fully control. Command coordination was weak. Officers disagreed on positioning. Some units had marched all night and were exhausted before the first shot. Opposing them, the Catholic League forces were cohesive, experienced, and confident. Many veterans had fought in earlier conflicts. Command structure was clear. Orders were expected to be obeyed. The battle began with skirmishing. Artillery fire was limited. Powder was damp. Visibility was poor. The ground was frozen, but muddy beneath the surface. Imperial cavalry struck early. On the Protestant left flank, mounted units advanced aggressively, testing resistance. The defenders wavered. A counterattack was attempted, but coordination failed. When cavalry pulled back, panic followed. Units mistook movement for retreat and began to fall back themselves. This moment decided the battle. Catholic League infantry advanced steadily, pikes forward, musketeers firing and controlled volleys. There was no dramatic charge, no heroic stand. Protestant units began to dissolve rather than collapse violently. Soldiers left the line individually, then in groups, then en masse. Attempts to rally failed. Officers lacked authority over mercenaries whose contracts were expiring and whose pay was overdue. Once momentum turned, it could not be recovered. Within an hour, the Bohemian center was compromised. Artillery was abandoned. Ammunition wagons were captured intact. The right flank held briefly, but was outflanked and forced to withdraw. Casualties were comparatively light by early modern standards, fewer than 1,000 dead on both sides, but the strategic result was total. By late morning, Catholic League forces controlled the field. Frederick V fled Prague within days, earning the enduring nickname the Winter King for his brief reign. The consequences of White Mountain were catastrophic for Bohemia. Reprisals followed swiftly. Protestant leaders were arrested. Estates were confiscated. On 21 June 1621, 27 Bohemian nobles were publicly executed in Prague's Old Town Square. Their heads were displayed as warnings. Religious tolerance ended. Protestantism was outlawed. Churches were seized. Clergy expelled. A forced re-Catholicization of Bohemia began, enforced through law, exile, and violence. German replaced Czech as the administrative language. Noble families were replaced by Catholic loyalists. Land ownership shifted permanently. The battle also transformed the wider conflict. It demonstrated imperial strength and discouraged Protestant resistance elsewhere. Spain secured its interests along the Spanish Road. The 30 Years' War expanded, but Bohemia itself was effectively neutralized as an independent actor. White Mountain is often misunderstood because it lacked spectacle. No dramatic last stand, no famous battlefield speech. Its importance lies in how quickly an entire political order collapsed once military confidence failed. It was not a battle won through brilliance. It was a rebellion lost through isolation. The 30 Years' War would continue for nearly 3 decades, killing millions across Europe. But its opening phase ended here, not with annihilation, but with control. On a low hill outside Prague, authority was restored, and a society was dismantled.